Hello out there in podcast land. This is Tammy Terrell, Texas Desert Rose. Thank you for joining me for yet another recording. And per usual, I have, a very interesting guest. And this particular person I have known for about, are we 10 to 12 years, Brent?
That would be, yes, 10 to 12 years.
10 to
Probably
12.
Closer to 12 now.
12, yeah. We have staying power, don't we?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
And we met at church in Little O, Texas, and Brent seemed to have a sixth sense just from afar, the typical walk in, good morning, happy Sunday, but he would always come up and greet me every time I came, and I just always had this sense, I think he could feel my distress. It was a stressful time in my life. What was that? 2021 minus 12. That's too much math for me. Heck, I can't even do that. 2009 or so.
Yep, sounds about right.
Very stressful. And it would just show on my face. And church was really a kind of a release for me. A place to just go forget about everything, especially in the music. Love music. Huge escape for me. And so he and I would talk more, and I think that's right as I was about to go work in Okinawa for about 3 months. And that was an interesting kind of a commonality. And we've just been friends, usually message once, twice daily, no matter where I am in the world. And for those of you who didn't hear the last podcast, I'm now in South Korea. Quite a bit of time difference, but we still have a way of making it work. So right now it's my morning, and it's your evening there.
It is my evening, yes, ma'am. And hopefully you didn't hear my mental clock this ding 9 o'clock. So.
Did not at all, but whatever it takes, right?
Right.
But, so we always seem to make a way to have connection. One commonality that you and I have always shared is the presence of certifiable narcissist in our lives, and we have talked many times over our experiences. And over time, what I've noticed is that Brent, you and I have we tend to be empaths. I will share that I had a narcissistic father, and they just seem to have been in my life ever since. And I had to really take a look at my role with them of what I was doing or not doing to have them in my life, because they wreak havoc in every case so far. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So anything that you want to share in your views, what you noticed.
Well, we got started, it was kind of a strange topic, but we got started 10 years ago talking about narcissists because I was dealing with them in the workplace, and it was a really odd situation, and it's been ongoing ever since.
Yes.
So it's very, 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 very strange situations that can seem to keep repeating.
And a lot of fun. And we're in different works, different careers, different types of work. So it's not like certain types in certain workplaces. It is across the board. Have you found that for yourself?
Absolutely. So I was in the aerospace and defense industry. I'm now no longer in that, but it's still the same. It's still corporate America.
And I was in corporate America right after my undergraduate in business, and it took me about a year to figure out that I didn't want to be in a corporate America. Not that corporate America is the problem, but for me it was not a good fit, and I went toward being a therapist. But guess what? The therapy world has them as well.
Oh yeah, it's just part of the population. So, and it was, and it's been interesting. Just throw this out now. I've noticed it's several different corporations and different companies where they seem to have their own kind of. Well, in my case, it's an old boys club. So you have your old boys club, they run around, they high five, they slap each other on the back, and you have your head narcissist in charge, and he's kind of the chief. He has his narcissistic minions underneath him that feed the ego and keep him going. A couple cases though I've seen where the narcissistic minions will kind of set the guy up. It's like, hey, what do you think about doing this? And then a couple weeks later, the guy thinks the chief executive says, hey, what do you think about doing this? And the guy goes, great idea. We should go do that. You know, totally plays him. I've been watching that going on for the past 10 years, and it's really kind of fascinating, but also scary because when your job's impacted by that, it's like, this is not good. So
yeah, it threatens the security.
Yes, absolutely. And when you're over the age of 55 or 60, your job security is very important to you.
Yes, you want to say more about that, like why that is, for those who are younger and haven't gotten to that point yet. Like,
oh yeah, well, I'd like to retire at this job, and I don't necessarily want to get thrown out. And it's tough looking for a job when you're 62 years old,
yes,
or 55 years old, or anything else. So even though you're younger looking and in really good shape, it's still not fun.
It doesn't have a huge bearing. In other words, to find another job is not so easy. Ageism is real.
My age. Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. It's like, okay, look, here's this guy's going to work another 5 years. We can't do much with him other than work him to death. So let's get somebody younger who's not quite so expensive.
Yes, and that's business. That's business right along. It's business.
Been there, done that. So I understand it.
So the threat to the security even maybe is higher stakes, really. For those out there who don't have, the lucky ones that don't have their own experience with narcissism, or they didn't know that's what they were dealing with, how does job security and minions feeding off the narcissist, or the narcissist feeding off them rather, how are those connected? You want to say more about that?
Yeah, so so you have your narcissist layer there, and then you have your kind of a subculture of people like myself who are just basically, worker bees or whatever. But we're there. We want to work hard. We want to do a good job. We want to advance. We want to eventually retire and go play with our grandkids, right?
Yeah.
So, but as the narcissist system starts driving the good people away, it becomes more and more difficult to do your job, and you can't really focus on doing what's best for the company for fear of offending somebody, because there's a code. That's
what I want to talk more about. What is that code that you've picked up?
Bro code that you can't violate the bro code. Not being a narcissist, I don't think I'm a narcissist.
No.
Okay, all right, let's check.
A narcissist unworthy if they're a narcissist.
Okay. Well, that's good. So that's a good self check. Thank you. But so the bro code is, I didn't, recently I didn't pay proper homage to somebody who thought, didn't recognize how important they thought they were.
Didn't feed their narcissistic supply.
Yes. So I failed to enhance and maintain their self-esteem or ego, which is nowhere near anywhere in my job description. So that's not what I get paid for. I get paid to go out and be really good at my job, which is closing projects. That. Yeah. So, but this does not nowhere in my job description do I have to enhance and maintain somebody's self-esteem. So I do that when I can with the people that work for me, but not someone who's a senior manager in a completely another department. So that's all very interesting. I've run afoul of them before, where I was actually being stolen from the person I was working for to get sucked into a narcissist organization, because they have to have somebody who can do work.
Yes.
So they have to have really competent people under them, because they're too busy running around, slapping each other in the back and high-fiving and 3 martini lunches and whatever they do. So,
which is a whole lot of nothing, I would imagine. That's my assumption.
It feels like, I know they would tell you they're great thinkers and strategists.
Yeah.
So anyway,
great thinkers and strategists.
Yes, but you need great thinkers and strategists. So I'm not.
Yes, you do.
But the great thinkers and strategists that I've known over the years, and I've known a lot, are also very, very generally practical, down to earth, super intelligent people, and you would really know it by talking to them that they're genius level mathematicians and chemical engineers and people of that nature. So I was being recruited into this organization, and it was like, I told my boss at the time, like, I will quit before I go work for him. Mm-hmm. I had the narcissist who was trying to bring me over to his group actually called me. He goes like, "You really don't want to work for me?" It's like, "No, I don't want to work for you." He goes, "Why?" It's like, "We've been arguing about this for 9 months on different topics. You're fire, I'm gasoline. We'll be blowing up at each other all the time. What don't you understand about this subject?" And he was dumbfounded that I would not want to come work for him, because he was just incredibly awesome.
Totally oblivious to his impact on others.
Totally oblivious. So it came down to the last week of this company. I called my boss. I was working for at this time I was working for the chief financial officer as a senior manager, and I called him and said, "Okay, am I going to have to go work for person X?" He goes, "Yeah." Well, what happens is he sets it up, and then the CEO hits the ball. It's like, "Okay, thank you." And then 2 weeks later, I turned in my resignation, because my choice was, it's absolute misery or go to work for another company. So I left a good job and went to for another company, and I never looked back.
And so, assuming that it's the one that I'm the most familiar with, it wasn't just that. Your days were incredibly stressful.
Oh, they're horrible. The days were just really incredibly bad. So, and again, narcissist is all about looking good, right?
Yes, and whatever that you have to do to make sure that keeps occurring.
Yes, keep the illusion going. So they would say, "Hey, I need this by Monday." Well, I knew the deadline was like Friday or Thursday. It's a couple instances but it's like, okay, for me to get to this by Monday, this is Thursday afternoon at 5. I have to work all weekend because this is a 3-day job. Oh no, they didn't care. They wanted to turn it in on Monday, so they get it in early, so they look good for the customer. I was in direct contact with the customer. I knew the deadline was Thursday or Friday. It's like, okay, I'm not going to work all weekend just because you want to turn something in 3 days early.
Yeah, to look good.
To look good. There's nothing, because they're not going to do anything. In this case, you're not going to look at the proposals, or they're not going to look at whatever the technical information we're sending in until Friday anyway. There is no gain. So I'd already talked to the guy. Because that was my job, was talking to the customer. So it's like, okay, so thank you. I wouldn't do it, and they'd get mad, and then I'd give it to them on Tuesday, and then they'd still get it in a couple days early. But I did it one time. It's like, I'm never doing this again, because I had family in town. I missed a weekend with my in-laws. So like, yeah, it's not. And I like my in-laws.
Well, and your family's taking the toll. You're taking the toll for them to look good. But so when it comes down to the bro code, what have you deduced over time what it is they do to work the chief narcissist? Which I believe they're all narcissists. But what do they do or not do to work the system? Because that's not how we're wired.
It's just kind of puzzling through this, because the bro code is something I actually figured out like Wednesday. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? I told you, I can't remember.
Wow.
It was just like 3 days ago. So
your Wednesday, my Thursday.
Yeah, through Wednesday, Thursday. So they would go. They go through, and you never go directly against what one of the bros say, right?
Right. Not overtly.
You can't. Not overtly, yes. So, and if one of the senior minions, so you have your chief, and you have like your senior minions. If one of the senior minions, kind of empowers one of the junior minions, boy, that's really bad. Because all of a sudden it's like, oh great, I have all this, I've been given all this authority, so now everybody must give me the same respect that they give the senior minion. It feels a little bit like the mafia, but that's just...
Well, you're right. It's the same narcissistic system.
Yeah. So it's which is also some interactions I've had with some people who've been empowered by higher ups. Hey, I want you to go do this, and then, well, you've not respected me the way that I think you should respect me. It's like,